Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm your podcast host, Dr. Divi, and you're joining the podcast called The Shift Happens with Dr. Divi. We had a prior title called Ease into Clarity, and we're in the process of doing a name change. So apologize if you're having trouble finding it, but I'm here right now. So welcome. Our focus for this podcast and the upcoming series is abundance, and that's perfect because it's the start of the new year, 2026. As we do with every podcast, go ahead and close your eyes just for a quick minute. And breathe into the very base of your belly. Think of the diaphragm if you know where that is, and gently allow all the air to go there so that your whole belly and chest can lift, and then the whole belly and chest can fall. If you can do this with your eyes closed, amazing. If you're doing this with your eyes open, even more amazing. Take a few breaths. Now, when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. So I've got two small things to share before I dive in. Number one, how we grow this podcast is by you sharing it. Not only will it help if you share it, but it'll also help if you could give me a review on the podcast, if you're watching this on a podcast channel. It also helps if you're on YouTube to not only share it, but give me a comment. Those kinds of things increase it. And don't forget to subscribe, regardless of how you're listening to this. Number two announcement. I always share what's going on in my business, personal world. You may know I have a 17-week puppy named JJ Jr. He's a black lab, and he's the apple of my eye right now. I offer a number of things in my business. Number one, I've got an in-person workshop coming up here in Vancouver, February 7th and 8th. I would love to have you join me. If you're listening to this at a later date, I've got a bunch more here in Vancouver and Whistler through the year 2026. In addition, I run a couple group coaching programs, one geared towards relationships and health, and the other one geared towards abundance. I would love to have you, and thank you again for joining me. So today's topic is abundance. And I want to remind our listeners as we get started, abundance is not just about money. It's about everything from time to energy to health, inner space, creativity, and so much more. So when we think about abundance, we actually usually go down the rabbit hole because instantly we think of our bank account. But that's not what I'm asking you to focus on. I'm asking you to focus on the infinite place of supply. And that's what we're going to be working on a lot today. The belief that we have lack is a massive belief in our society. And because of the belief in lack, we all struggle. Whether you're struggling with energy, time, money, health, I guarantee you it's an abundance conversation. So let's start off there. Abundance versus scarcity, also called the lie of lack. I was actually teaching this yesterday in the entrepreneur group about the lie of lack. And by the end of me teaching for about an hour, they all got it. Lack is a state of mind. It always says there's not enough time. I'm behind. I have to speed up. Oh my God, what if something bad happens? Scarcity takes us into anxiety and urgency, and that takes us off our path. We do all the vision board. We go and try to manifest. We do all those things that we're taught to do. But what we often forget is that the energy that created us, call it God, call it the creator, call it love, that's an infinite energy. An energy that does not stop. Think of the size of the sky and its massiveness. If you're in the greater Vancouver area, think of the number of raindrops we get. It's massive. So we actually come from an energy that is massive. And here's a really important part of that conversation. Yes, we come from that energy called God, called the creator, call it love. But that energy is not outside of you. It's both outside of you and inside of you. And just knowing that can actually start to relax your nervous system. Being aware that this energy we call God lives within us and outside of us and is not judging us. Let's go a little bit deeper. Maybe like me, you have some anxiety, right? I grew up in an anxious family, and I'm not just going to blame them. I have anxiety. Welcome to being 2025 and being an entrepreneur, right? Anxiety, though, is the engine that keeps scarcity going. The more anxious we get, the more we overthink. The more anxious we get, the more we overdo. The more anxious we get, the more we overmanage. And if you're an over-control freak like I can be, welcome to my party. How did I start to shift this? And it's a daily process. I bring my memory to the place of love that resides in me. When I'm in anxiety, I'm actually disconnected from the feeling of abundance. When I'm in the energy of unconditional love, when I'm in the energy of presence, when I'm in the energy of now, then that voice inside of me starts to slow down. Let's take another piece when it comes to abundance. This is a deep concept. I might run to a whole podcast on this. I've got a 4-podcast series, as you know, this month on abundance. But this is another concept that really made a big difference to me. This concept that giving and receiving are the same. And A Course in Miracles teaches us that we can only lack what we're not giving. Okay. So a lot of us perceive that we lack love in our lives. A lot of us perceive that we lack friends. We lack connection. But you can only lack that if you're not giving it. So what if in the elevator you start to give more kindness? What if in the elevator you give more presence? What if for yourself you give more rest? What if the next time you're in a coffee shop you give more appreciation? These are movements of energy. Money is an energy, and we'll be getting more into that in a subsequent podcast. But money is an energy. And if you're perceiving a lack of money, you might be stingy with these things like creativity, generosity, appreciation, love. In fact, the closest energy of money or abundance is love. So why don't you try it for 30 days? Give a bit more love. Give a bit more freedom. Give a bit more ease. You got nothing to lose, right? And what you'll find is it'll start to unwire some of that anxiety because we withhold the love and the kindness unconsciously. And then that scarcity gets more and more and more. Because it doesn't matter if you're feeling scarce when it comes to money or health or so on. You're actually not giving the love that's needed for you to receive it. Now, another thing a lot of people struggle when it comes to abundance is this concept of receiving. We have all these crazy conversations like, I can't receive. Who am I to receive? I can't allow that in. I can't allow tickets to the Vancouver Canucks in. I can't allow joy in. I can't allow money in. And I see that a lot in healers, because for a lot of us who are healers, including myself, it's a very natural gift. So my intuition is natural. I had to wake it up and study a lot. My ability to connect to my divine support team is natural. But it took a lot of work to undo my stories I told myself to wake up my intuition. But because it's so natural, when I first started, I struggled charging money. But receiving is a big part of people giving to us. So if you struggle receiving, remember, whatever the thing that you're giving out, you're actually giving whatever it is. Maybe you collect garbage for a living. Maybe you're a nurse. Maybe you're a healthcare provider. Maybe you're an ambulance driver. Maybe you're a graphic designer. Whatever the service you give is actually love. So I asked myself, somebody who does graphic design for me, what does it feel like to receive this beautiful gift of their artistic creativity? I am blessed that this person is in my life. And that is the art of receiving, which is an art. Then you have less trouble charging. Another thing when it comes to receiving is if you really get tripped up on money, I'm looking at my window right now, and I think I alluded to the fact that it's raining cats and dogs right now. I am receiving from the universe right now. I'm receiving the abundance of buckets of rain. And I take that into my heart. I'm receiving the fact that you're listening to me talking. I'm receiving that. I receive emails and texts and communication from clients in my programs every day saying how much they have changed their lives. I receive that. That is a form of receiving. And ultimately, giving and receiving are the same. I can only lack what I'm not giving. So if I'm not giving myself the ability to receive, I can't receive more. Got it? I'll just teach two more things on abundance before I wrap, because like I said, we're doing it all month. Another thing about receiving and giving and abundance is stillness. Stillness is an antidote to anxiety. We talked about how anxiety perpetuates lack a few minutes ago. So stillness is a massive antidote. In stillness, we feel peace. And notice if the anxiety is running. In stillness, we feel calm. In stillness, I can feel my feet. In stillness, I can hear my breath. In stillness, I am. In stillness, I don't have to chase. In stillness, I can practice more gratitude. But the anxious voice inside of us resists stillness like no tomorrow. But if stillness happens more, I can get softer. My body lets go. My mind loses grip. So if you're walking or driving, what happens right now if you just be still a little bit more? And I'll share one more thing on stillness. I could talk for hours if you can't already tell in abundance. We avoid stillness because the mind gets super loud. Our emotions come to the surface. We feel like we lose control. But the funny thing is stillness is where love lies. Stillness is actually where your supply lies. Stillness is where spirit lies. And in stillness, we don't have to fix, we don't have to plan, we don't have to judge. We can let our bodies relax. Take a breath with that. Now, if the rubber's hitting that expression, the rubber's hitting the metal's hitting, that expression, right? If this is really activating you, that's so good. Because don't worry, the next 3 weeks of the Abundance Month podcast, I'll be talking about tools to help you. If your mind's fighting you with stillness, what do I do? If my mind's fighting me to be kind, what do I do? I'll be talking a lot about that in the upcoming weeks. Again, I want to thank you for joining me on this podcast today. Again, we're changing names from Ease into Clarity to The Shift Happens, so hope you found me today. Let's do this together. Let's take a deep breath in and a long breath out. And when you let that breath go to every cell of your body, that's abundance. And again, just a little request again, please rate my podcast, please, a nice rating. Share something on YouTube, like it, subscribe. All those things build the podcast and YouTube channel. And lastly, I would love to have you join me. I teach 2 groups. One is entrepreneurship and one is health and relationships. Please join me or come to an in-person workshop. February 7th and 8th is my next one here in Greater Vancouver. I'm sending you so much love and I appreciate you more than you may know. Sending you lots of love. Have a beautiful day.